Ladies and gentlemen, independent Americans around the country, around the world, and especially inside of Afghanistan, we are keeping our focus on what is happening inside Afghanistan and how it impacts people back here at home. We've always wanted this show to be something that raises up issues that aren't front and center yet. This is an issue we hope will be soon, and we are proud and thankful to welcome back a returning champion and friends, the great and powerful Matt Zeller, and some powerful and dynamic activists, friends of his, join us right now. Welcome back to Independent Americans, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
So, question I ask everybody: where are you right now, for folks who are listening, especially, and how are you?
I'm at the Capitol and I'm exhausted.
So tell
I'm
folks.
Good, yeah, please we're at. If you might recall, the veterans community organized at the end of July, August to conduct what was called a fire watch at the Capitol to get something called the PACT Act done. And the Afghan community saw that, saw how effective it was, and decided to organize one of their own in support called something the Afghan Adjustment Act. That kicked off a week ago today. So we've been out here now for a week straight, and they contacted the veterans community and asked us if we could come out and help join them, and show solidarity for their cause here.
You've been on the show 3 times. Last time it was coming right out of the PACT Act, so this audience knows you. We've been tracking on you. We've seen it come full circle. Tell us who is behind you, either specifically or generally. A lot of folks have been rotating through. You've been doing hourly updates online. Who are the men and women standing behind you and around you, especially for folks who can't see them and are listening?
Yeah, sure. So surrounding mostly is a number of Afghans, either former interpreters, recent evacuees themselves. My personal interpreter from the war, the guy who saved my life, Janice, is standing just over my right shoulder here. And then there's also a number of veterans here. We've got a gentleman who flew in from Sebago Lake, Maine area yesterday. My brother James here came in from Ohio last week and has been here every day since. We've got a gentleman over to my left shoulder here. Zabi flew in from Dubai, from the other side of the world. So we literally have folks coming from all over the world to be here, stand with our Afghan brothers and sisters and veterans, and send a message to Congress that we're not leaving until this job gets done. Let's be clear about this, Paul. 13 United States Marines put themselves in between a suicide bomber and these Afghans. They gave the ultimate sacrifice, believing that the Afghans that they were protecting were getting on airplanes and coming to their new lives in America forever. The only way we're ever going to actually truly finish that mission and honor those Marines' sacrifice is to get the Afghan Adjustment Act passed and to ensure that the people that they were protecting do in fact have a permanent home here in the United States.
So let's talk political strategy and tactics here so folks can help. You and I have obviously been in text contact throughout this and will be going forward. And you're trying to get the Afghan Adjustment Act passed. You've talked about that on the show. Who specifically is standing in the way or needs to be influenced right now?
Chuck Grassley. So last week we had an interview. We had a meeting with him and his staff, a guy by the name of Drew. And Drew kind of models himself to be, he sort of, I think in his own mind, probably thinks he's like this young Stephen Miller type guy. And it's very clear he's trying to make a career move out of this for himself by being the staff member that killed the Afghan Adjustment Act. So we met with Senator Grassley last week. In that meeting were faith leaders from Iowa, Iowa veterans, Iowa voters, the Chamber of Commerce, so the Iowa business community. We tried to bring as broad of a swath of Iowa society as we possibly could to this meeting to show Senator Grassley just how much support there already is within his own voter constituency for this bill. We also, by the way, polled the American people. And what we learned is that some 76% of the American people, both Republicans and Democrats, support the Afghan Adjustment Act. We presented all of this to Senator Grassley. We presented the arguments around the national security implications that will transpire if we fail to do this. The fact that no one will ever trust us again going forward. We talked to Senator Grassley about the fact that there are 300,000 Afghan lives that have been left behind whose very existence is on the line with this bill. And it went in one ear and out the other with him. He just could not care less. His staff member, Drew, at that point proceeded to lie throughout the entire meeting to the senator's face and to these assembled constituents. He outright lied about what was in the bill. And then he proceeded to insinuate that Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the Republican co-sponsors of the bill, somehow didn't actually believe in the bill at all and didn't really want to be a co-sponsor in the first place. He actually insinuated, this is again, an unelected staff member, suggested in a meeting outright that there wasn't really truly bipartisan support for this bill, that somehow Senator Graham would endorse and sponsor a bill he truly didn't believe in. I mean, it's preposterous.
So can I stay on that point for you? So
sure.
Grassley is the new Pat Toomey, right? So Pat Toomey tried to stop the PAC Act. Now we've got Chuck Grassley and his staff that need to feel the pressure and the weight of you guys standing out there for weeks in the rain, in the crappy weather, leaving your families behind from, Sebago Lake. Shout out to Sebago Lake and all my friends in Maine. I was up there this summer, to Dubai. You got people from all over the world converging. But I want to put a point on the pressure, Matt, because I think that's what you and Jon Stewart and others did so effectively. So Grassley's up now. You've got some co-sponsors. Hopefully, over the course of the next couple of days, every single member of Congress will come through and show face and take a picture with you guys like they did last time. We also need the president. Have you spoken to the White House? And have you gotten any response from the White House? And is there a world where Biden drops by? He said he was going to drop by the PAC Act Firewatch, and he sent McDonough, the VA secretary. What have you heard from the White House?
Man, I'd love for the White House to actually stop by. It would be the first opportunity for the president to actually ever meet any of the Afghan evacuees. He still hasn't met once with any Afghan community member or any of the Afghan population that were evacuated last year. So what an opportunity it would be for him to actually get to meet these people along with the veterans who are supporting them. So, Mr. President, if you see this, you're invited. Come on down. I agree with you. I hope that members of Congress stop by. But Paul, the reality is that Chuck Grassley kind of holds all the cards in this, and his obstruction to this really makes absolutely no sense. In 1975, he voted for the Indochina-Manchurian Resettlement Act, which was the law that brought the Vietnamese out of Vietnam and into the United States during the evacuation of Saigon. And then in 1980, he voted for the Asia-American Immigration Act, which was the law that allowed the Vietnamese to adjust their status and stay in the United States forever. Neither of those laws ever allowed or required the Vietnamese to undergo any type of additional vetting. And yet Chuck Grassley voted for them, no problems. When you ask Chuck Grassley, and we did, okay, what is your concern here? Why won't you support this? He doesn't have an answer. You say, okay, well, what do you want to do if we do nothing? He doesn't have an answer. When you point out, Senator Grassley, if we pass this law, it will require every Afghan who would like to remain in the United States to apply for an adjustment of status. And that part of that application process will then require them to undergo the very vetting that you seek them to undergo. He still doesn't have a response to why he should be against it. There is no logical reason for people to oppose this bill. Long and short, it comes down to xenophobic racism. That's why people are against this. They don't want brown-skinned Muslims staying in this country. That's it. And they don't have a leg to stand on. And they're going to hurt and kill veterans now and in future wars if we don't get this law passed.
You make a powerful case always, right? And you have the righteous high ground. And the challenge now is amplifying this and putting the pressure on Grassley, on everyone, and making it almost inevitable. You guys have been out there for a week. As we're talking, you're looking over your shoulder because members of Congress have promised to come by.
Well, they're already here. They're
Okay.
stopping by right now.
So tell
Congressman
them I would
Stanton's
love to
behind me.
talk to them when they get done with you, if they're up for that. Tell them that lots of folks would like to hear from them and hear why they're there and why others aren't there. But you've been there for a week. What's your no shit assessment? You know, as a veteran yourself, how long do you think you're going to have to be out there? Best case scenario, worst case scenario, to get this passed?
Best case scenario, they pass it in the next week in something called the continuing resolution. Most likely scenario is they're here till at least end of December, and they pass it in something called the omnibus bill. And look, let's be clear, these are Afghans. They've been through 40 years of war. They've been through famine. They've been through the Taliban and Al Qaeda. This is a picnic in the park. This is easy for them. They literally have Starlink internet satellite internet thanks to Elon Musk now. Like, they're not going anywhere. They're in this for the duration.
Well,
and as long as they're out here, veterans are going to be here with them.
And we're going to have your back. I'm just going to ask you to do one thing. Turn around to them, first of all, and make sure that I know they can't hear me. Tell them thank you from all of us. Tell your
Paul
guys.
wants to say
your
thank
guys.
Paul says, guys, Paul, come here for a second. Paul says thank you. He wants to say thank you.
And ask them if they have more faith in America or less faith. Raise their hand if they have more faith in America than they did before.
He wants to know, raise your hand if you have more faith in America. Raise your right hand if you have more faith in America. Raise your left hand if you have less faith. All right. More faith, right hand. More faith, right hand. Hold them up. Not like that. Like with a fist. With a fist. More faith, right hand. Okay. More faith, right hand. All right. There you go.
And let me just ask them one last question. Are they confident that they can do this and get it done?
Are you guys confident we're gonna get this done? Absolutely, they say. Absolutely.
Excellent. Excellent.
He says, James says this process right here gives us more faith.
Well, you guys are giving us faith. I know you got to go and twist some arms. Know that we appreciate you. The men and women standing behind you are heroes. We will continue to amplify it. Matt, you continue to be a conscience for America and an inspiration. And now it's got a multiplicative effect. You're creating other leaders that are doing the same in your image, and tell them thank you from all of us. And we've got your back. Stay vigilant.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, that's, I would say one final word. That's been the coolest thing, is watching these Afghans learn to become empowered advocates. This is their first time in their life where they felt truly secure and safe to do this. And it's just been tremendous to watch them come into their own. This is really going to change the community in a positive way for the better going forward. We're seeing the awakening of the movement here. We really are.
Tell them I look forward to all of them, to include you, being elected and serving in that building behind you.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I'll talk soon.
Thank you, brother.
Take care. Bye.